Alright, welcome back everyone. I'm teacher Nathan from Writers at Work, and this afternoon we'll be looking at the 2014 O-level paper. Okay, so it's part of our O-level series, and what happens is every lesson will either go through the visual stimulus plus narrative text, or we'll look at the non-fiction text and summary. Alright. So today will be our second last session. So we'll be looking at 2014. This is the non-fiction text today first. And subsequently tomorrow we'll be looking at 2013 visual stimulus as well as the narrative text. Okay. So before we actually delve into the questions per se, yeah, so I will be interested to share with everybody some insights I have while looking at the questions. Okay, so before you read the text, it's good to take a look at the questions. So you are very objective. You know what to look out for when you move back to the text subsequently. Okay. Now, looking at question 14. The writer summarizes the traditional benefits of sports as the extent to which it develops the understanding and values of players. So over here, we are looking at three different examples. Oops. So what happens is the examples here will evaluate or show the extent to which understanding and values of players. Okay. Now, the next question is 15. How does the phrase under the shadow of technology? So you can see shadow here has this idea that something is ominous and oppressive. Okay, ominous means something that is very bad. It has like a bad omen to it, right? And ominous oppressiveness of something. So we are looking at a negative connotation with regards to how technology is being viewed here. Okay, moving on to question 16. You can see this is a very straightforward conversation. Jenny thinks that technology will make sports safer, while Lee say that he disagrees. So you can see this is a thesis versus antithesis kind of question. So this means that my examples would be contrasting. Okay, question 16 here looks at two things. They ask you to show two examples. So when they just ask you to identify, it's very straightforward. It will be a direct lifting from the text. So I see what is in the text, take out what is needed and paste it here as my answer. Easy. Okay, the only challenging one is here. When you talk about how would Lee explain his position. And usually when it is not directly the direct lifting, they'll ask you with reference to certain lines. Okay, so this will mean that you have to do two things. You quote what is needed, and subsequently you link back to question. All right. Okay. The next thing we observe is question 17. Okay. So in question 17 here, they ask you what the phrase elusive age means. So we split up the words to define. Okay, so elusive here means something is difficult to find, catch, or achieve. While age here means that advantage over someone else. Okay. And lastly, looking at question 18, they're asking for the tone. Okay, the tone here reflects about how author feels about something. And it talks about how they describe the latest dietary fads. Okay, fads is basically some we are looking at a short-lived enthusiasm for something. So it's like a little trend, and the trend will eventually die out. Okay. Then you can see the next one, the next two words, blare out. Blare out here means that you project something loudly. Oops. And usually it's as an announcement that you want to publicly make known certain pieces of information. Lastly, we have this summary here. They ask you to summarize the ways in which modern sports, okay, so this is our subject. And what happens to modern sport? How technology has affected both elite athletes as well as ordinary people. So there are two different groups of um, categories of things we need to take into consideration. Okay, and how technology here is that factor which affects them. Okay, and you only can use information from two paragraphs. All right. Okay, I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information of what we have analyzed so far. And if you have any questions regarding the things that they ask here, do sound out. All right. If there are no further questions, let's move on further. Okay. So what will happen is we'll look through the text and I'll point out certain pieces of information which are important for us. Okay. So over here we have our text on how technology has affected sports. Okay. So you can see in our first paragraph, the author talks about how the notions of traditional sports has been eroded. Okay, and he gives examples of those traditions. Okay, so the examples include notions of fair play. Yeah, I just box it up. Balance between body and mind. And how uh, they should reflect a spirit that values participation. So these are your examples. Examples of the traditional sports. And now they are trying to explain how certain of these traditions which are laid forward are being eroded by technology. Okay. Now you can see over here, after they talk about how these traditional values are being eroded, right? The author goes on to talk about how the shadow of technology has changed the way we do and view sports. All right. And therefore, this shadow here is what um, we are looking at us now, right? The ominous oppression of something. And this is also linked to our question where they ask about how the writer disapproves. Okay, so you can see um, this oppression and this introduction is actually very subtle and influences the way in the wrong sense, right? Where a highly disciplined endeavor here, you see, changes into something which is rewarded for their measurable outcomes. So we are looking at hitting certain performance indices and the athletes being paid for achieving them, right? More so than people marveling and appreciating their discipline and their commitment to the sports. Okay, so you can see after he shares his disapproving view of sports and technology, he goes on further to talk about the merits as well as the disadvantages that technology brings. So, firstly, in paragraph 3, he talks about how um, there are new equipment that can protect the well being of participants. For example, here, sophisticated helmets, mouthpieces, and padding. And you can see this is the benefits ensure the health and well-being of participants. So this is a benefit. I'll just put a plus positive. Okay. And you can see that there is also another side of the coin, right? Where how the athlete may feel invincible and they are more prepared to take risk and use safety equipment as weapons. So this is a negative component of sports. And we are looking at invincible, meaning they are all powerful. That means they are able to use the equipment to defeat anybody whom they feel should not be on the sporting field. Okay, and we look further down, we observe how apart from this kind of sporting equipment, the other kind of technology we are looking at is sports science. That means we're looking at how to use technology to make people perform better. Okay, so it's not just the equipment to ensure safety, but now we're looking at the equipment to increase performance. So in paragraph 4 here, we look at how they have all the sports scientists to deliver the elusive edge here. Okay, so some of you will be asking, what is this elusive edge? So we're looking at that kind of advantage. That's why over here we talk about world records that athletes step on the track. So we are looking at how to reduce that few seconds in order um, to achieve a certain record, which is something that nobody has done before, right? And you can see that these expectations of both equipment as well as performance, okay, these two different aspects which technology can change, they have affected the whole nature of modern sports. So we are looking at how um, the sports has affected the elite athletes in paragraph 5, right? They talk about how they are trying to constantly challenge the athlete's body using technology, and analysis is done using video images. Okay, and also it talks about how the importance of using technology to help them win, right? Because you can see the athletes are looking at that kind of financial gain from winning, and therefore this justifies their high spending and their focus on technology to help them. This is paragraph 5. Okay, and in subsequently paragraph 6, we talk about even the normal human, normal ordinary people also want to use sports technology. Okay, that's why you can talk about how the introduction of exercise machine. Right, tyranny here refers to the oppressive rule. Okay, so we are not looking at how the sports equipment like really dominates the human, but we're looking at how humans are being too overly dependent on all these equipment, such that it seems like we are addicted to it, right? And all these equipment are actually sports technology. Okay, so we also observe how they also try to follow the latest developments in food technology. So we are following diets to ensure that we can keep healthy in a body shape that is good. And we also have um, s- all these technology that accompanies us as we go for runs and our daily routine of exercise. And this suggests that technology has infiltrated every aspect of both professional and ordinary people's sporting lifestyle. Okay, so this is the in gist. This is what the whole text wants to highlight with regards to technology and sports. Okay, I'll just give everybody some time to take in the information here, the things I've highlighted and annotated. Okay, if and also for our friends who don't have the text, they can take a look at different aspects of the text first. Yeah. Okay, if you have any questions regarding the text, do sound out to me. Alright, if there are no further questions regarding our text, let's take a look at some of the questions that they've asked. Alright, so the first question, the writer summarizes the benefits of sports, and they ask you to give 3 examples in which the values are being talked about, right? The values of traditional sports. So let's take a look at line 8. So as you can see, as I have pointed out earlier, here, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Uh, lies not in the results achieved, but the extent to which it develops the understanding and values of the player. So you can see the values include how there is fair play. So we're asking, how is fair play a value? Well, it's integrity. It means you do not use underhand means, you don't like eat drugs and dope to win. Okay, next is also how they develop the mind and body. So we are looking at how sports is able to uh, train the mind to be more disciplined, to react under stress, and also train the body to be more fit, right? And lastly is about how they reflect a spirit that values participation, which means that you are trying to encourage people to play the sports in order to become fit, right? So that's the focus. It's not so much on the um, it's not so much on the kind of money that you get from playing in the sports. So the 3 values are: players should compete fairly. Second one would be players should play sports to develop their mind and body. And lastly, how players should value their experience of participating. Okay. Now moving to question 15 now. So question 15 asks, under the phrase "under the shadow of technology," how what suggests the writer disapproves? So how does the phrase, right? So over here we're looking at a certain method. Okay, and this method has got to do with this part only. Okay, so there is nothing to look further into the text, right? So in a sense, we're asking ourselves, how does the language use, you know, convey the idea that the writer disapproves? That means he's not supportive. Okay, so it boils down to your language ability and how you view shadow of technology. Okay, so for this case here, the word shadow actually suggests that technology has an ominous, something that is very bad. We could talk about bad influence. We can talk about ominous effect or bad influence on sport. Okay, so we are trying to highlight this fact. So this question is slightly more challenging, and there is the expectation of, of you being able to understand the language use. Okay, so this boils down to your vocabulary ability. All right, come, let's move on further. Okay, so the next question here asks you to identify two examples from paragraph 3 which can support Jenny's view. And what is Jenny's view? That technology has made sports safer. So we're looking at the benefits of this technology. So looking back at our text, you could see here, paragraph 3, here, technology advances have been instrumental in improving the safety. So you can see this is really a very, very clear signpost that our answer is nearby. So you see the development of helmets, mouthpieces, and paddings ensure the health and well-being of participants. But you can, but you need to be very clear. This is one example. This is the second example. So actually, there are 3 examples being embedded in this question. So if you are a careless student and you decide to just take all 3 and put it in your answer, you will be marked wrong because of access denied. Okay, so you can see that over here, we just need to choose 2 of the elements and explain how they have been beneficial for the safety of athletes. Okay, so in this case, I'll choose the first 2, sophisticated helmets and mouthpieces. So the answer will be as such. So Jenny can state that the equipment like protective helmets and mouthpieces have been specially developed to improve the safety of athletes. Okay, it's a very straightforward question. The answer is really given to you there. So the idea is you just need to be very, very clear about what to copy and what not to copy. All right, moving on, we look at question part 2 here of question 16, which talks about how which asks you to explain how this point, this antithesis here would make sense, right? So we need to have certain links to our text here from line 23 to 25 and how they have injured the athletes. Okay, let's take a look back at our text. So line 23 to 25 here. See, we have talked about how complex protective equipment may have led to greater rates. And what's the reason? The reason is highlighted here. Okay, they may feel invincible and take more risk. So when they take more risk, that means the probability of injury will increase. Okay, it's not stated explicitly here, but you need to do that kind of inference yourself. The next thing we observe is how they use the safety equipment as weapons. So there's this idea that they may injure other people in the field. or in the arena. And therefore, this increases injury rates for both the athlete himself and other people around him. Okay, so for this case, our answer would be as follows. Lee can state that with technology, athletes are more willing to take risks as they feel invincible. This increases the probability of being injured. Okay, that's 1 point, 1 mark. Moreover, athletes may use these equipments to hurt opponents in the field or just hurt opponents, thereby increasing the risk of injury. For other players. Okay, so the idea is you need to talk about how the probability of being injured here is significantly heightened, right, with sports and technology. So you need to link back to how this ties in with the injury, okay, which is not often uh, mentioned very clearly inside the text. Okay, and this is what you need to be very careful about. All right. Okay, moving on. Let's take a look at question number 17 now. Okay, so question 17 asks you, what does the writer mean by the phrase elusive edge? Okay, for this question here, it's also a language use question. So the focus is on how you define the two words. Okay, so I'll say that if your vocabulary bank is not so strong, then it will not be possible. Okay, with Marcus, hello, is it possible if you do N-level paper 2 2024? Unfortunately, Marcus, we have a schedule to follow, and for today, uh, my objective or the lesson would be on O-level 2014. All right. So back to our question, when we talk about elusive edge here, the idea of something being elusive, it means something, as you can see over here, I already defined as difficult to achieve. So we will just write that down. Okay, at the next one, we talk about edge. It means that kind of advantage over another participant. Okay, so I think we need to be very careful. This edge here is not talking about any kind of advantage. It's very specific to the advantage over uh, opponents in sports. Okay, so we need to clearly define those kind of boundaries. Okay, so some of you may be asking, then what if I don't have the vocabulary that is needed? So how do I navigate this question? All right, so you can see in question 31, right, line 31 here, deliver the elusive edge. So from here, this paragraph itself, you can already more or less gauge where they talk about elusive edge. They give you certain examples, right? world records. Through the study, so when you talk about world records, and you can see conduct of modern sports, improve performance. So you can see that this really means that you want to be better than somebody else. Okay, and that is basically that age. And at the same time, if you ask yourself, world records improve performance. So we are like reducing by a few milliseconds or increasing your heavy weight by maybe 1 or 2 kg. All those things are very difficult to achieve. Okay, so all this means very difficult to attain. It's very difficult to become better than your own self, right? And all this improved performance here means you want to be better than others. Okay, so actually, if you are like not really sure, but if you look at the text and you're able to identify certain contextual clues like all this, then I'm sure you will also be able to derive the meaning or just guess the meaning of elusive age. All right. Okay, let's go on further. Okay, so our last question here is asking you, what is the tone, right? When he talks about uh, the phrase, the latest dietary fads blare out. Okay, so you could see the first thing we observe is fads. Fads here is just it's a normal word, right? It's not like used against something that the writer is against. So we're just looking at something that is short-lived, something that is like a trend, so it will die out one day very soon. Okay, and the next word or the important one is the word blare out. Okay, because this is has this brings about a negative connotation. So we will not talk about, for example, a teacher blaring out her students in a very good way. We are looking at somehow this person is very talkative, is very annoying. Okay, so you have this idea, very annoying, very irritating, that you will hate, like can you just shut up, that kind of emotions, right? So when we look at how he talks about the latest dietary trends being bled out, it shows that the writer is very disapproving. So what kind of tone is that? You could say the writer uses a critical tone. You also can use the word disapproving, okay, or critical, with regards to all these facts. Okay, so for this question, they ask you for tone, not the reason. So you don't have to explain like, oh, because blaring is negative connotation and it's very loud and annoying noise. All right, so in that case, this makes the question slightly easier. All right, so I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information first before we move on to our summary. All right. Could you try maybe this, because PFP is really hard. Um, okay, Marcus. Okay, for I understand your concerns. Okay, but at Writers at Work, we have a schedule to follow. Okay, so you can obtain the schedule from our our social media platforms where you can take a look at what we are going in. All right, what we are going to go through. All right. So if there are no further questions, let's delve straight into our summary writing now. Okay, so summary writing, yeah, a lot of people will say it's tough. Okay, but I think the main point or the main thing you need to achieve is actually your 8 points. So long as you can identify the points correctly, uh, it doesn't your the majority of your marks are already secured. Okay, so let's take a look at this question here. We're looking at how modern sports is being affected by technology for both our elite athletes and ordinary people in paragraph 5 and 6. All right, so if we go to our text and look at paragraph 5 and 6 here. Okay, so you see the first thing that, okay, the first thing that we observe how technology is being used, okay, is as follows. Okay, so over here we talk about how the assistants continue to poke, prod, and test the athlete's body. And next, we also look at how you try to nudge it even closer towards its limits. So you can see all these can only be done with technology. You have that kind of technology means to test the body. Look at like the blood glucose level, your heartbeat, so on and so forth. And now when you want to move it even more towards the limits, you also need certain technology to draw the graphs, identify where is like the maximum heart rate, things like that. And all these will affect the professional athletes. So we only need to put it down in our summary. Next, we also look at how video images are analyzed to identify how the single of movement could be performed more efficiently. Okay, so we need to look at the video images. That's the main point. Next, we also look at how further, okay, you can see, yeah, before I move on, let me just talk about the other parts. So you can see in this is the implication of technology. So we are not looking at implications or the consequences or the results here per se. We're only interested in how the methods of how technology has affected your daily life or the daily lives of professional athletes. Okay. Not only the momentary glory of winning, but financial security, da da da. So all this also is not the most important thing. We should not take into consideration these parts. All right. Now moving to paragraph 6. Now, okay, I'll just erase all those all this stuff so we can look at our points better. Okay. The first thing we observe is over here. They need to submit their bodies to the tyranny of exercise equipment. Okay, so over here you actually can see how with all these technology they create all your weightlifting equipment and the various kinds of bodybuilding equipment. Yeah, what's the effect? The effect is people they become very addicted to it. So we can use it this way. And not only are they people are addicted to it, it also talks about how all your gyms have a variety of this machinery. So you're trying to help people, be fit, and there are many ways to do it. Okay, so exercise machine and gym equipment is one. Next, we also look at how there is the latest development in food technology to follow diets, which will help them achieve their body shape. Okay, so this one is also another point. We talk about how um, developments in your food industry. Next, we also look at what's the how technology works. We are looking at a lot of advertisements and publication on newspapers and magazines. And lastly, we can talk about how all your equipment accompany your Tom, Dick, and Harry on a daily run. So even your ordinary people also need to use all these sports equipment. All right. And with that, we have come up with our 10 points. All right. So for this part here, after we already have identified all these points, we are going to look at how to paraphrase them. Okay. Okay, unfortunately, I only have my paragraph 6 here. I do not have my paragraph 5 with me. All right, so what will happen is I'll take a picture of this first and we can refer. Okay, so we have paragraph 5 here. So what will happen will be as follows. Okay, I would point out, give a moment. I'll point out from my photograph here. Sorry. And just switch on the do not disturb. Okay, so what will happen is I will point out the points on my phone. After that, then we'll write it down in the summary part. Okay. So let's go to summary first. Okay, so you can see how technology has affected my modern sports for both elite athletes, ordinary people. So first point, okay, we observe how the assistants continually poke, prod, and test the athlete body. So you can see these three verbs, these three action words are actually referring to the same thing. You are trying to test the athlete's body and their capacity. Okay, and there's the word continually. That means you do it multiple times. So I will change it to they repeatedly. Instead of poke prod test, I'll just say they repeatedly evaluate. All right. the sportsman's physique. Okay, so for this athlete, I can change it to sportsman's, and body is just the physique, right? The build up of the person. Second, we're looking at how you are trying to nudge it even closer towards its limit. So the idea of nudging is that you're trying to give somebody the physical indication to do something. So instead of nudge, I'll say you're trying to prod the body. Okay, and you're saying, and look at this. We're looking at moving it towards its limit. So the limit is like the highest threshold to do something, right? So I'll say you prod the body nearer to its maximum performance. So you're pushing them all the way to that limit, and they want to do their best through that point. Okay. Now, looking at the third point, we are looking at the video images. So video images is a technical term, so you keep it. They are analyzed to identify how the single movement could be performed more efficiently. So video images, we'll keep it. Okay, next, instead of analyze, we'll say they are examined. So that means you are like putting this video under a microscope, trying to observe every step of the way what they are doing. And to identify means they're trying to pinpoint. They are trying to point out, I'm going to improve this action, this movement is not good. How to make it better. Okay, so how an individual movement, single can be changed to individual, could be performed. We are looking at executed or execution. Okay? Executed efficiently, you can say optimally. All right. And with that, we have all our points for the first paragraph. Okay, which is paragraph 5. Now we go on to paragraph 6. We have 7 points from paragraph 6. Okay, so firstly, you can see from here, paragraph 6 is okay. Give me a moment. From paragraph 5 itself, oh sorry, I forgotten to bring up one point. Okay, the last point is here. Okay, one is, this is a very subtle point, right? Because it's like embedded in your example. Here, there are developments outside the athlete's control, such as improved running shoe or nutritionally superior diet. Okay, so the point that we are looking at actually is here, the running shoe, because we are looking at how there are enhanced sports equipment. Now, some of you may be asking, then what about the diet? Well, the diet is also repeatedly mentioned about in paragraph 6. So I will dovetail, or I'll combine both points together to make it one point. Okay? So the idea is here, you are using sports equipment that is informed by science. That's all. Okay? Then we move on to paragraph 6 now. So paragraph 6 here, we look at how people are, when you submit the body to the tyranny, this is vocabulary, right? You're trying to, it's like instead of saying that you want to, like instead of saying you want to pass motion, you'll say, oh, I'm going to excuse myself, something like that. So this idea, you submit the bodies to the tyranny, is a very, it's a nice way of saying that you're trying to train on that particular equipment. Okay, so you're looking at how ordinary people train on exercise machine. Okay, the reason why I put ordinary people here, right, even though it's not inside the text, is because over here, the idea is casual participants. And I want to let the examiner know that my casual participants here equals to my ordinary people. So I just use what the question talks about. So for some of you who don't know, if you use the words that are here, like athletes, ordinary people, you will not be faulted. But if you use the words inside the text, you will be faulted. Okay, so next one is number 6 here. Okay, fitness center review a profusion of machinery to adjust a body size, shape, and capacity. So profusion means there are a lot, right? There's a variety. So in that sense, I'll use the word abundance, okay, of exercise machines. Now you want to look at adjust. You say alter, okay, the bodies. Now there are 3 different elements here that we need to change. Size is your stature, so how big, how small you are. Okay, then shape is how you look in front of a mirror, things like that. So I'll change it to appearance. And capacity, I will say stamina. That means how much your body can take. For example, the maximum weight limit, or the maximum distance you can run, things like that. Okay, 7 point. We'll look at how latest development in food technology help them to achieve their body shape. So you're looking at how you leverage on leverage is, I'm changing the word use here. On latest, I'll say the newest. And develop, that means you're trying to build something from scratch, right? So I'll just call this the newest improvements, okay, in food technology. And it's through diets. So the means of allowing people to eat the new technology is through the diets, okay. For them to achieve, you can change to attain. The desire, you can say intended, and body shape is the physique. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. The 8th point is here. Dietary fats bled out from the television or leap out from pages of glossy magazines. So we are looking at how the newest dietary trends are advertised on mass media. Okay, and last 9, you're looking at all these pedometer, heart monitor, iPods accompany people on normal runs. So we're looking at how exercise equipment are used during routine workout. Okay, and even say exercise technology. All right. Okay. Yep. So apologies, not 10, but I have 9 points that I can find. Okay, so you can see this text here is the summary is slightly harder because there are a lot of examples embedded together with your points. For example, pedometer, heart monitor, iPods. If you're going to write all these 3 words, it counts towards the same point, which is all your equipment. So you need to learn how to group them. Okay, so let me go through the point one by one and show you how I've done that. Okay, so for paragraph 5, so look at my phone. When your assistants continually, so continually here is changed to repeatedly. Poke, prod, and test. You can see all these actions just point to the same thing that you're trying to do. You're trying to find out why and find out how something works. So we will use the term evaluate. Okay, right? Now you can change athlete to sportsman, or the professional, the professionals. Both all these will be fine. But you can see body will change to physique. So you are looking at the person's build. Okay, so the second point is how you nudge it closer towards his limits. So when you want to nudge something, we prod it. We change this verb, and you can see limits. We can always do a one-to-one replacement, so we can use the words like the person's boundaries, but you can see the word boundaries is not really contextualized to sports. Boundaries can be the limit. That means I mark out a specific box and you are not allowed to step out of it. That's also considered a limit or boundary, right? So in a sense, if I want to ensure my precision in vocabulary, I thought about how this limit refers to how the maximum performance. That means this is where the athlete can perform up to this level. If not, it will be too difficult or he may like faint or things like that. Okay, so you need to be very careful. Thirdly, we look at how video images are analyzed. So analyze here, I change to examine. That means you're looking at it very closely at every detail. And to identify something, that means you're going to point at a certain aspect. We use the word pinpoint. Now we're looking at how the individual movement. So single can be changed to individual. This is an adjective we are describing this one motion. Could be perform. Perform is a verb. I change it to executed. So it's this act of doing a certain action. Efficiently means you're optimizing your resources and you're trying to ensure that the effort you put in gets back a certain result. Okay, so this is all for paragraph 5. Okay, now we look at paragraph 6. Okay, so paragraph 6 here, the first thing we talk about is how they submit their bodies to the tyranny of exercise equipment. So like I said earlier, if you're going to change it word for word, it's possible, but it'll be very difficult. How we're going to use tyranny as an authoritarian, it doesn't sound right because tyranny usually got to do with a certain level of control. And it is not vocabulary, it will not be accurate if you say that the machine is controlling the human being. Okay, so the idea is how you are training. Okay, so the word train here is more of an inferred point rather than a one-to-one swap, something that I can get from the text. Okay, I just put this in yellow to signpost or mark it out clearly. Okay, now casual participants, I just change it to ordinary people, which is what the text says, and it allows the examiner to know I'm moving on to another topic. Okay, exercise machine, exercise equipment, no change technical term. Now, the next one is here, the profusion of machinery to adjust body size, shape, and capacity. So the word here that I changed is profusion, which is your abundance. That means there are a lot of exercise machines. And now we are looking at the 3 things that I changed. Firstly is the bodies, where is it? Shapes, size, shape, and capacity. So size is your stature, so how you're built when someone looks up at you, right? Appearance is changed from shape. So it's like how the contours of the body, and capacity is your stamina. So in this case here, capacity is like the ability of the body to do certain tasks. And I think this boils down to how fit you are, that's linked to stamina. All right, now you can see latest dietary fads bled out from television or leap out from pages of glossy magazines. I mean, you can rephrase every single word here, but the idea is I want to point out is mass media. Okay, I'll go to point 7 later. So when we look at how these two can be classified together as mass media, it saves you quite a few words. And you see blare out, leap out. This is not literal. This is using some vocabulary language, right? The leap out here. We're not looking at how suddenly the advertisement will like jump out at you like a pet dog, but we're looking at how these items are being put in all these mass media to raise awareness. That's why I use the term advertise. Okay, and latest is a vocabulary, so we definitely need to change it. We change it to newest. Dietary fads. Fads is like your something that will die out very soon. It's like your trend. Okay, so that's why I just changed this for one-to-one replacement. Okay, back to point 7, where we look at how latest development in food tech allow people to follow diet to achieve their body shape. So this point here is quite a mouthful, because firstly we need to talk about latest developments. So latest development, I talk about newest improvements, right? And I'll say that you also need to talk about the use these things. That means I'm trying, I'm making use. I'm trying to uh, uh, put into use my tool. That's why I put leverage. Okay. Food technology through diets to achieve is change to attain. It's quite straightforward. Desire is something intended and it's something you want. Body shape, you can just change it easily to physique. Okay, this one is not a big issue. Just that the challenge is you need to include a few aspects of the sentence into your summary. And the question is whether you can keep it concise. And if not, my advice is you do not use this point because it eats up a lot of your word count. Okay, lastly, we have question point 9 here. We look at how the most ordinary athletes make use of all these iPod, heart monitor, pedometer. So all these can be easily summarized as your exercise technology. Okay, and they accompany on your daily run. So daily here, I mean, if you're going to change to daily run, it's a very I would say very small aspect. People wear this for many different sports. That's why I call it routine workout. Okay, this will be a more accurate vocabulary term. The reason why we need to change it because these are it's like a little example. It's not a standalone point that you can just take out and rephrase per se. All right, and with that, we've come to the end of our summary and our text. I'll just give everyone a minute or so to take in the information. And if you have questions, do feel free to ask me in the comments. All right, if there are no further questions, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. All right, to say about TikTok, I'm teacher Nathan. If you have friends who are in primary 5 and 6, do encourage them to join me later at 2:30 p.m. We'll be looking at another prelim paper. Okay, if not, I'll see everybody on TikTok again. Bye bye.